Well, we should talk about, speaking of getting over or not getting over, we should talk about we hadn't originally planned on this, but last night, so we're recording this on Saturday, May 3rd, 2025. Last night, WWE they do this every year, of course, right after WrestleMania. There's a lot of releases, a lot of people they release from the company, and a lot of these really surprised me. Looking for a full list of talent because some of these,
I have it right here, Matt.
Let's go through them, shall we? Because you've got the full list. Should we start with Braun Strowman?
Well, here's the deal. Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai, Caden Carter, and Katana Chance departed the company.
Mm-hmm.
NXT stars Cora Jade, Jakara Jackson, Riley Osborne, Javier Bernal, Oro Mensah, Gigi Dolan, Eddie Thorpe, and Gallus were cut from the roster. Those that were cut from the main roster, this is very important. Those that were on the main roster and cut have 90-day non-compete clauses.
Yes.
Those from NXT have 30 days.
There was someone, right? And for those who don't know, that means that they can't go work for AEW or any other promotion until
they can't go to New Japan. They can't even go to New Japan, Japan.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they get paid. They do get paid for this remaining time, of course.
Okay, that's another point.
Yeah.
They get their downside guarantee.
Yeah. It's almost like a severance package in a way, if you think about
it. It is. Their downside guarantee is just their base rate. Like if what a downside guarantee is basically if you are injured, WWE will pay you, but it's at X amount. They're saying, like, if you don't make any money off of merchandise, premium live event numbers, or anything like that, or bonuses, this is what we are guaranteed to pay you.
Yeah.
It's WWE's minimum wage, except it's attributed to each individual talent. And it's based on what they think they're worth on the open market.
Right.
So now keep in mind, NXT, they don't make much money because realistically, WWE pays for their trans, WWE pays for their hotels, and WWE really covers the major expenses for them. When you're on the main roster, unless they're a top-level guy or girl, they have to cover their transportation, rent-a-cars, hotel rooms, all of that. That's on them.
Yeah.
Their flights are covered, but they're crap flights. They're red-eye flights.
Yeah. There was somebody, I forget who it was, maybe you remember. There was somebody a number of years ago who had been called up from NXT to the main roster and then got released. And they were actually able to, after only 30 days, they were actually able to work somewhere else because apparently there was some sort of somebody forgot to update the contract when they went to the main roster. So instead of having 90 days, they had 30 days because somehow they had fallen through the cracks with their contract. So they were able to work somewhere else after only 30 days. And do you remember who that was? Because I can't remember.
Kyle O'Reilly.
It was. Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Just fell through the cracks that way.
Riley.
Yeah.
No, I might be wrong. It's one of the members of Undisputed. It's either Kyle O'Reilly or Roderick Strong.
Okay. Yeah.
Or Bobby Fish. It's one of those three.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam Cole, no way would that have ever happened.
Right. So we should talk about, Charles and I actually talked about it a little bit on my show this morning. Braun Strowman, I feel like they kind of, Jenny was disappointed. Jenny really likes Braun Strowman. I do too. I think everyone likes him, but we kind of both, I think Charles and I both felt that they'd kind of done all they could with him.
You're using everyone very loosely.
Well, I mean, just generally though, like I never hear anyone say, "Oh, Braun
Oh
Strowman, I hate
yeah,
that guy."
yeah. Look, there's a quote, and I feel bad saying this because he's one of those guys that he does do a lot charity, but a lot behind the scenes, and does a lot even in his, I believe, his hometown of Waukesha. Does a lot within the community. The saying is, and then the bell rang. I mean,
Yeah, his matches were never anything special.
$1 million look. Um,
He's in his
10,
40s now.
10-cent mic skills, 2-cent wrestling ability.
Yeah.
I I mean, there isn't a lot you can do with a guy like him that just never gets better in the ring.
Yeah.
You can only put him with certain guys. You're not gonna put him in a feud with a great wrestler like LA Knight
Right.
or Drew McIntyre, although him and Drew, I believe they feuded. His golden run was when he had that run against Roman Reigns, and
Hmm.
that worked because Roman is a bigger guy, but sells very well. But once that story ran its course, it's like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
There just wasn't anywhere for him to go. And look, I think he'll find work elsewhere.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily AEW. I'm thinking maybe indie scene, Game Change Wrestling might be able to do a lot of things with him. MLW possibly. Uh,
Yeah.
there, there's options for him, and there'll be options for all of these people. I mean,
Oh
for
yeah.
crying out loud, I doubt Shayna Baszler is going to be hurting. Game Change is probably already contacted people connected to her
Yeah.
because she would be such a good asset for the Josh Barnett Bloodsport
Hmm. Oh
events.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, the one that shocked me, the one that I was like, "What are you doing?" is Dakota Kai.
I know. Yeah, that one really surprised me.
I mean, man, I don't think AEW does a great job of telling stories,
Right.
but she just seems like the perfect female to go to AEW
I
and
agree.
succeed. And because she wrestles well, she's very good at doing the high spots, and so I think the AEW WWE competition is over.
Hmm.
If anyone ever felt it was competition, um, I think, and we'll get into it, I think, during this episode about their missteps
Yeah.
they've had.
Yeah.
Because it does correlate to our subject.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that shocked me. Dakota Kai shocked me.
Yeah.
The rest, I mean, I'd heard good things about Eddie Thorpe. Heard good things. I mean, seen good things from Cora Jade.
Yeah, that one
Um,
surprised me. I thought she was getting to be pretty big in NXT, and
I,
Eddie Thorpe too. I haven't watched NXT in a while, but my impression was they were doing a lot with both of those people.
I think the big thing here is, unfortunately, too many fish are in the pond,
Oh yeah,
and there's something not a lot of people have talked about. LFG is almost over.
yeah,
You're going to need legends and future greats, the show on A&E that showcases the individuals that are in developmental, not showcased on NXT.
right,
But you're going to need some place for those people to go and continue showcasing them.
right.
So
True.
I mean, there's just not enough TV time, and you have to decide, hey, is this person, where are we going to go, not just a month from now? And this is where one of AEW's major faults is. Where are we going to go with this one person, not just 1 month from now, but 12 months from now,
Mm-hmm.
2 years from now? What does the future hold for them? Where do we see them? And if you're sitting there and you're just kind of drumming at the table while you're trying to figure out what are we going to do with these people, then you got to let them go. And it's a sucky part of the business, but the key word is business. It is a business.
Well, I also think too they can afford to let people go and let them kind of go and find themselves, and kind of like Drew McIntyre, for example. I think they probably feel like they can afford to do that because when if you go back to when AEW started, WWE tried to lock down a lot of their talent, and they were just kind of like they went on a signing spree, just trying to like sign everybody to try to keep as many people as possible away from AEW. But AEW has fumbled things so badly at this point. I think WWE probably feels like, well, we can afford to let people go, and if they go to AEW and they find some success there, great. So what? Once they go there, once they've been there for a while and they have built themselves up and they've expanded their careers and so much, when their contract is up there, if we feel like it, we'll grab them back. But WWE is so far ahead of the game now. AEW was a challenger brand from the beginning, but they've lost so much steam, and WWE under the creative direction of Triple H has improved so much that I think they can comfortably say, yeah, we'll let somebody like Dakota Kai, she can go do a couple of years in AEW, and then if she becomes an even bigger star, then maybe we'll bring her back, or maybe we won't. But I think they can kind of relax on that a little bit and stop worrying about. We gotta lock everybody down. They don't need to lock everybody down.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes Jim Ross, the greatest
I know the quote you're going to
wrestling
use. Yeah.
announcer of all time, sometimes you got to go learn a new hold.
Yep.
You know,
Go learn a new hold and come back. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's you're 100% right, Matt. That's exactly what you have to do here. As much as we've talked about Dakota Kai, Cora Jade, response to both of them has tempered. And the big thing in this business, there's a lot of things, but one of the bigger things is once you have the fans, how do you keep the fans?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because wrestling fans are so fickle.
Oh yeah.
Once they cheer you, they'll buy the t-shirts, but if you don't do anything for two major events,
Mm-hmm.
those t-shirts sit in the closet in the dresser drawer.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like, okay, what do we do now? And we don't know the behind the scenes stuff with these
Right. Oh
individuals.
yeah. There's a
We
lot
don't
we
know.
don't know and
We
never
don't
will
know,
in some
like,
cases.
I mean, realistically, they get to have one of the greatest backstage workers, one of the greatest workers of all time. And it pains me to say that. I mean, I've softened my stance on him over the years, but Shawn Michaels,
Mm-hmm.
um, they get to learn from him. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
how do you not go elsewhere and just kind of take what Sean has taught you
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
really and do well? I mean, so I think the future can still be bright for a majority of these individuals.
Yeah.
Um, I the one that I'm leery on is Braun Strowman. His
Yeah, just
age.
because he's older now, and not that matters as much as it used to. Geez, nowadays you're
But
when you're in your 40s, you're in your prime in the wrestling business. It's kind of weird how that's changed.
for a guy his size, though,
Yeah.
it really is. for a guy his size and his injury history.
Mhm.
He has had a few
True.
major injuries.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's how, if I'm AEW, MLW, Impact, I'm looking at this and how much do I invest
Mhm.
into
Yeah.
this man? You know,
Yeah.
what do I put into him? And I'm sorry to say that, but that's got to be something that 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 we're looking at.
Yeah. Jakara Jackson really surprised me.
NXT cuts outside the names I've said don't really shock me because they're developmental.
I know,
I mean,
but she had appeared on the main roster with Lash Legend and looked great, and the whole Meta Girls thing. I thought she was on her way to the main roster. I did not think she was on her way to getting cut. That one really surprised me.
I mean, it's she's not the first that's happened to.
No, certainly not. But I did not
Um,
expect
I mean,
that.
my goodness, look at what they did to Sonya Deville. Hey, we're putting you in this major angle. We're
Uh,
giving you a stable. And then 2 weeks later, bye.
yeah,
I mean, it happens. And again, we don't know if there was something that, and I'm not saying there is,
right.
but you never know. There could have been something backstage. There could have been just they're not ready.
Yeah.
Or they could have just been like, they could have felt they're not ready for the call up or the pressure. And Nick Khan, Hunter, Sean had to make a decision. And it, like, do we send them back to NXT? Don't know where they really fit in those plans. They're not really ready for up here.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one thing to do. Time to go learn a new hold.
Kalani Jordan and Katana Chance, they were released, right?
Yep.
Isn't Kalani Jordan, isn't she Damian Priest's girlfriend?
I believe so. Look, relationships really don't.
That's gotta suck.
To I, I mean, look at Rhea Ripley and Buddy Matthews.
Yeah.
They're married.
Yeah.
I mean, they see each other 2 days a week because
Yeah.
of the schedules. I mean, look,
Well, he's gonna end up back in WWE eventually anyway, I'm sure.
maybe not.
I
I
think
mean,
so.
I look, I was a big supporter of AEW. Um, there are things that have been done. And again, this is what, Matt, this is what we in the business call a segue.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in this episode.
Yeah.
Uh, but just so many things they've done where I'm like, I don't even watch it anymore. To be honest with you, I, because it's like, one, your times change because of sports,
Oh yeah.
because of the two, the people I like and the people that I think are stars. And to be fair, people that a majority of wrestling fans are like, this guy is a star. You have mired in the mid card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I know he's a star. You're paying him like he's a star, but yet you're just giving us the same matches we have seen, and you're pushing these geriatric wrestlers when guys like, and I'll name drop him right here, Maxwell Jacob Friedman should be your world champion.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
guys like, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay. You mean to tell me that if you took Will Ospreay versus MJF, and you did, and I doubt Tony Khan listens to this, But if you do, Tony, I'm going to speak slowly for you because so you can understand this and get a grasp of what wrestling is. You take two guys, you build something called a program with them. You build it, and they have to be on TV every week, Tony. I know that's hard.
Yeah.
You have these guys that come in and do vignettes and sit at home for 3 weeks, then show up again. Can't do that. You can't be their buddy. You got to be their boss.
Yeah.
Tell them they have to be there, and you build it up. And then they have something called a match on a pay-per-view and something else called the main event. And you know what? They tear the house down, but they leave you wanting more. So then you go to the next
Yeah.
month and Tony, I know this is hard, Tony. Just follow me here. Write it down if you have to. If you need pictures, leave a comment on the video. I'll draw it out for you. Then you do a rematch. But I'm going to stop because his head might have exploded.
Yeah. What was there anybody?
Know.
What's
could
that?
Could I have been a little unfair to Tony there?
It can be unfair to him. He's a billionaire who gives a shit about his feelings. I don't. Whatever.
F you if you Matt Connerton. F you if you have money.
Well, yeah, that is the general vibe in the country these days. But anybody else you were surprised by on that list of releases? Or
not really. I mean, I think a lot of pro wrestling fans are so jaded anymore when it comes to releases.
Yeah,
we're like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
move on. It's a business, and they're a corporation now. TKO is always looking to cut.
Oh yeah,
cut. And UFC a month ago cut 20 fighters.
Oh, I didn't know that. Although that doesn't surprise me because, I mean, at UFC though, tell me if I'm wrong because I haven't followed it closely in a very long time. UFC, I would imagine they go through a lot of fighters anyway, right? Because it's not like wrestling. I mean, UFC is not scripted, so and people, fighters tend to have short careers, right? Because of the brutality of the sport that they participate in. So I would imagine UFC runs through a lot of talent at a much faster rate. I would assume. Am I correct about that? Or
I would say you're correct. I mean, they have a show a week now.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's on ESPN Plus or ESPN or Fight Pass or ESPN pay-per-view. Their ESPN deal is over, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's also you lose 2 or 3 fights in a row. Generally speaking, you're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very unforgiving. But again, combat sports is more generated on performance than pro wrestling is. Because in pro wrestling, guys can stay around if they hit 2 out of whatever indicators.
Mm-hmm.
You can suck in the ring, but if you can cut a promo and you can sell merchandise, you're probably going to stick around.
Yep.
If you can wrestle well and you have a fan base, but your promos suck and you do a decent job moving merch, you're gonna, whatever is. So UFC doesn't have those opportunities per se,
right?
Where, you're gonna move merch or you're judged by your record and then your pay-per-view buy rates.
Mhm.
And if you're not selling pay-per-view, you better win.
Yeah.
Demetrius Johnson is a prime example of that. Unmarketable, but heaven, for God's sakes, guy was a dominant champion, just not marketable.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. Where in WWE, it's like, okay, well, you know, a guy like that probably doesn't stick around long.
Well, and it's easy to determine, right? Because the key indicator above all else would be merch. So if you're selling merch, you stick around. If you're not, you don't.
I mean, that's probably
Ultimately,
what saved Roman Reigns for the longest time.
sure.
Is he moved merch.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you're in WWE, if you're going to compare WWE and UFC, best way to compare it would be merch versus pay-per-view buys.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the indicator.
But I think merch is the best indicator, though, because merch gives you an idea of how, like, if a pay-per-view scores a big number, yeah, you can say, well, maybe it was probably the main event had a factor, but who else was on the card? And you have to kind of try to suss that out. Whereas with merch sales, that gives you a hard, concrete number. This person sold this much merch in this quarter. This person sold this much. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like that would be the absolute best indicator, not necessarily about where you want to go long-term in terms of storylines and whatnot, but if you want a snapshot of who's actually performing right now, merch is it. I mean, I can't think of anything else that would give you a better metric than that.
Right. And that's a very good point. And I do agree with that.